So a lot of you have been requesting that I do a Harry Potter DIY video, so this is my attempt at that. I've made quite a few Harry Potter related things in my time, so this is what I'm gonna show you, they're gonna be in varying degrees of complexity. Some of the stuff is quite hard to do, and then some of it is just pretty easy. So I'm just gonna go through some things that I think are cool Harry Potter things that you can make. They're really great ways if you want to be get some like Harry Potter themed stuff for your bedroom, but you don't want to spend loads of money, and just make something and it's really fun to make. So I'm going to start this off with this. It's a paper mache owl, and it's pretty jazzy. They are really easy to make. I made this a couple of years ago for my birthday party I was having. So although I'm not going to be able to demonstrate how I made it, I can just explain you through it, and it's so easy to do. You basically just get a balloon, make it whatever shape you want your owl to be, tie it up obviously, put it in a bowl, cover it with PVA glue and do normal paper mache. I used plain white paper instead of newspaper, that way I didn't have to paint the owl afterwards. It just saved a lot of time and made it a lot neater. So you just do that until you've got a really solid base, you let it completely dry. Once it's dry, take it off and cut some space out of the bottom. I mean, you're not going to be able to do it that close anyway, but what I did was I made two, that way I could cut out sections for the wings, so do two different balloons, and that way you've got for the wings as well that you can just stick on with more glue, and then cut so the bottom's neat, and paint on a little face, and then you just put a pencil through the top and some string, tie it from the inside, and then you've got an owl you can hang up. I did have a brown owl, but I can't find it at the moment, that I painted, so you can do them in loads different, you can do different sizes, you can do little owls, big owls, and they're just a really cool thing to have. You can have them. I've got mine hanging from my birdcage usually. A really fun thing to do is to knit your own house scarf. This is really bad. I did this years and years and years ago, and I was still learning to knit. Well, I learned to knit when I was 6 or 7 from my auntie, and then I learned off YouTube again. But I made one for a friend a couple of years ago, a Ravenclaw one. It went really well. And obviously you need to know how to knit. So I'm just going to quickly show you how to do the best, what I think is the best knit stitch to get a really good Gryffindor or Ravenclaw or Slytherin or Hufflepuff scarf. Now, if you're new to knitting, there are loads of YouTube tutorials on how to cast on. And since I'm already knitting a piece at the moment, I'll show you the knit stitches that I use just on this. Obviously, I won't be able to show you how to cast on, so just YouTube videos, there's some really good ones. I suggest getting metal knitting needles. I know wooden ones are a lot sometimes quite cheap, but I just don't think they're as nice to use, especially if you're a beginner. So what you need is to get 2 types of wool. You need to get the 2 house colours. At the moment I've just got red because I'm knitting a red scarf, but if I was doing a Gryffindor one I'd get red and gold or red and yellow, and you know, for the other houses you'd get those 2. So there are a couple of different stitches you can use for knitting, and I've tried a few different ones while making house scarves. And to get them the look sort of thick and also sort of like the filmed, but also be, you know, comfortable and everything, I found the best way to do it is a knit purl pattern. So you just keep alternating each line you do. So a basic knit stitch is where you take the knitting needle underneath, take it behind, and then you just wrap it over. This isn't very clear, and then take it off, and that's just a knit stitch. Obviously these, I'm not showing you these properly, you can go on YouTube and it'll teach you how to do them properly with better camera angles. And then a purl is basically where you take it forwards instead of back underneath, and you wrap it around that way and then bring it over. So you just keep doing that, knit purl, knit purl, knit purl, all the way across the row, and it gets a nice sort of thing like that. And then when you change over wool, obviously, so that's a really fun thing to make, like if you are into crafts and you can, you know, look that up and learn how to do it. It's pretty cool to make your own because the scarves can be really expensive. For my 16th birthday party I made loads of these. You get it's just a little house flag thing. They're really cool. You can put them in jars and give them out, or like just have them around your room. They're pretty cool. You just go online and get a Hogwarts house crest for whatever house you want. I did them for all 4, although this is the only one I can find at the moment. And you just cut it out so it's in that shape, and you stick it onto a large marshmallow roasting stick, cocktail stick, whatever you call it. You can buy them from most supermarkets for like really cheap. It's just a wooden stick basically, but they're really cool, so I thought I'd add that in here. This is the most complex DIY that I'm going to show you, and I wasn't gonna because this is what I did for my textiles AS level, but it's Hermione's beaded bag. I thought I'd show you because if you want to be really adventurous, when I posted this on my Instagram just before last Christmas when I made it, people were saying, how did you make it, can you make me one? It took me a very long time. I hand stitched on like 7,000 beads, but it's really satisfying and there's ways to simplify it. So I'm just going to go through how I made it, and you can make your own version with a lot less detail if you're not really crafty, or if you just don't want to go into that much detail, but they're really fun to make. So what I did was I made a template of like a diamond shape round thing that I was going to use for each panel. It's comprised of panels, and if you wanted you could just get plain purple fabric like the one I used for the inside, and cut out the seams, and then if you've got a sewing machine, great, you can just whiz it all together, add a little tassel on the end and you're done. Or if like me you hand stitch it, and if you don't have a sewing machine then you can just applique the inside. So I'm just going to go through what I did for each section. So this first side, I literally just got some glitter fabric paint, got some plain white fabric, and I made some stencils of some stars and moons, and I put them on the fabric, painted over it all so they were gaps, and then I took a purple shimmer thread and I just did loads and tiny little stitches around to make them stand out, and that's all I did for that one. I mean, the stitching does take a long time, it is very detailed, but it's really easy. You're just doing loads and loads and loads of little stitches, and that was just that panel. The next panel was a little bit more a lot more complex. This is the beaded panel, so as you can see they're all still in that sort of shape, and I just went to Hobbycraft. I got a pot and I just put in loads of all of the beads of the blues and purples and reds, pinks and silvers, and I just stitched on. I didn't really have a pattern in mind. I ended up doing some sort of swirly pattern down here, and then up here it was mostly just those sorts of colours. This is the most time consuming part because each bead I stitched on by hand. You could hot glue gun them on if you were that way inclined. However, I don't know how effective that would be. I think it is more effective when you hand stitch it on, but obviously it depends how much time you have. You don't have to put beads on, you could just do a beads around the rim or whatever. The next side is a batik. Now, a batik is where you get hot wax and you draw onto a piece of fabric what you want, and then you paint over it with dye, and then you iron off the wax. And I did ancient runes, so I did a lot of research into runes, and I batiked on some runes. I did have a large sheet and I cut it down to what I needed for this. I do have my book somewhere which I would have put in this, but it's not very good. And so I just did that, although you could easily do this with just dye and that sort of thing if you wanted. The next one I did knitting, so I got some different types of silver threads and knit little sections, and then I just, these in the middle is just some purple fluffy type of thread, yarn that I just stitched in between them to give it a sort of, to make it a bit more purpley and make it fit better and connect all of the pieces. And the final side was just a tie-dye. Tie-dyeing is really easy. You just get the dye and you scrunch up your fabric, tie it up a couple of times, put it in the dye, take it out, voila. And I added some detail with the glitter paint that I used for this one. And then to make it drawstring, I just sewed on some little loops with the purple fabric, and I got this and just threaded it through and tied it, and I then made these little tassel things at the end with beads and just wrapping yarn around it. And then for the bottom of the bag, to get the sort of detailing, I just covered a little ball of polystyrene in fabric, attached by stitching a bead onto it and a bead on the bottom. Then I made this tassel just by getting my purple thread and wrapping it loads of times, tying it in the middle, and there you've got a thing. There are YouTube tutorials all over the place for making tassels, for sewing on beads, so I'm not going to go into all the detail there because I could spend 3 hours talking with you through how I made this specifically, but this is just a quick idea and something that you can base your design off if you wanted to. For the inside, I lined it with this purple fabric, so I cut out the same sized pieces just for the middle, turned it inside out, and instead of sewing them on with a machine, I appliqued them on with that purple thread. I just did loads and loads of little stitches to make it, if I turn this inside out you're about to see a little bit better, to make it a little bit neater and to make it a little bit more detailed, because I only got a B for this, for my AS textiles. You can't get any higher than an A for AS, but I only got a B, and so I sort of gave up after that, because I was like, no, I put loads of work into it and I only didn't even get an A. So yeah, I mean, it's a really fun project to do. I was so satisfied after I made it. It's really, really satisfying to have after you've done it. I only just got it back from college. That's what the inside looks like because of the, and you just stitch it all together, and it's pretty cool on the inside. And I guess it's kind of reversible if you wanted it to just be like that. But those were DIYs in varying degrees of difficulty. If any of you attempt the beaded bag, please send me photos and stuff. Just tag me in them on Instagram or something, because I'd love to see what you guys did. I didn't really have much to go on. I knew I wanted to make a beaded bag, and so obviously I based it off Hermione's, but it was very complex, and I just sort of went off on my own sort of tangent with it. So I'd love to see what you guys came up with, and if you do have any other DIY stuff that you guys have made, tag me in it, tweet me about it, because I'd love to make more stuff, but I just don't run out of ideas. But or if you attempt any of the stuff that I've suggested, then show me. I'd love to hear that. Keep your video suggestions coming. I hope you're enjoying Vlogmas so far. Bye!